Hi, today we're going to take a look at the latest Cine lens from Irix. This is the Irix 65mm T1.5, so let's see what it can do. The Irix 65mm T1.5 Cine lens has 12 elements arranged in 9 groups with 1 spherical element, 2 HR and 2 ED elements. Like the rest of the line, this lens is made from magnesium to cut down on the weight. Despite that, it feels very substantial in the hand. This lens will not be mistaken for any of those ultra-compact Super 35mm lenses. Our lens came with metric markings on both sides, but it can be acquired with imperial markings if this is your preference as well. The Irix Cine line is fairly chunky and the 65mm isn't different. It measures just under 16 centimeters in length with almost 9 centimeters in width. With our E-mount version of the lens, weight is close to 1.5 kilograms. The lens has 2 rings, an aperture ring close to the camera and a focus ring closer to the front of the lens. Both rings are fairly narrow with a 0.8mm gear pitch. We will discuss both in depth later on in this review. The lens is fully manual and has no buttons or switches. According to Irix, the lens is weather sealed, and recently the company got military-grade certification from the US military for its Cine line of lenses. The lens comes in different mounting options including Canon RF and EF, Nikon Z, L-mount, Fuji X, MFT, PL, as well as the Sony E-mount that we have been testing. The lens doesn't come with a hood, but it has a flat push-style cover. Like the rest of the Irix Cine line, the lens has 11 rounded aperture blades. We will see later on in this review how this affects the bokeh of the lens. The lens has an 86mm front filter thread which is magnetic and works with Irix's Edge magnetic mount system. The lens is also compatible with 95mm matte boxes. The lens comes with a small removable foot with 2 1/4" 20 threads that can be mounted on the bottom or top of the lens for extra stability. So now that we are acquainted with the main features of the lens, let's take a look at its performance. The Irix 65mm is a fully manual lens with a focus throw of around 180 degrees. The focus ring has a fair bit of resistance but is very smooth, and it seems that Irix improved its manufacturing tolerances over the years. We would not recommend working with this lens manually, mostly due to the very shallow nature of the teeth, and it seems to be designed primarily to work with follow focus units. We tested the sharpness of the lens using our special large professional Imates high-end chart on our Sony A1. Wide open in the center, the lens is not extremely sharp. We see an improvement at T2 with very good sharpness at T2.8. In the corners, we see a similar story with a very good sharpness at around T4. The official minimum close-up distance of the lens is 60 centimeters, and this is what we have found in our test of the lens with a 7:1 magnification. Sharpness close-up seems good with a small improvement between T2 and T2.8 in the center. In the corners, again we see sharpness improving at around T2.8 and very good sharpness at around T4. The lens certainly demonstrated some breathing in our test throughout its 180-degree focus throw, but for minor focus changes it should be pretty minimal. In our test, we saw no longitudinal chromatic aberrations, even wide open. A great surprise is even the Irix 30mm T1.5 that we have tested in the past had some visible CA up to around T2.8. The lens has green flare with a yellow halo when shooting directly into a bright light source. With the corrections in camera turned off, we saw some vignette wide open which pretty much cleared at around T2. The lens didn't show any barrel or pincushion distortion in our test. Finally, bokeh. As you can see, in our bokeh test, it is mostly round in the center wide open, but has cat's eyes as we moved away from the center of the frame. If you're okay with smaller light circles, you can close down to T2 to T2.8 and get rounder circles across the frame. We shot a short video with our Sony A1 in 8K using the lens, and we'll have a link to it below if you want to check it out. In conclusion, The Irix 65mm T1.5 is very similar to the 30mm and 45mm Cine lenses that we have tested before from the company. The external design is more or less identical, heavy, robust, and above what you would expect at this price point. The lens has several other strong points, including non-existent chromatic aberrations, low vignette, and no geometric distortion. The focus mechanism is also very smooth, something that Irix had told us was improved throughout its entire line. In terms of drawbacks, it would have been nice to see a sharper image wide open both in the center and the corners, and you will need to close down to between T2.8 and T4 for maximum sharpness. There is also a little breathing, and the bokeh wide open has more oval than circular points. On a personal note, we would really like to see Irix getting into the compact lightweight full-frame game with a Cine line designed for mirrorless cameras and gimbals. Finally, pricing. The Irix 65mm T1.5 Cine lens currently sells for $1,200. So that was our look at the Irix 65mm T1.5 Cine lens. You can check out the full review with all of our test results on LensVid.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to find more videos just like this. See you in the next video.